Chiều năm xưa có người vác cây thập tự. Chiều năm xưa máu nhuộm đẫm bên đồi hoang. Đồi can vế thập giá Chúa đau thương, vùi đẫm trong máu gai, cùng chết bên hai tên trộm cướp. Chiều năm xưa có người chết thay cho mình. Ngày hôm nay có người quên lãng tình xưa, để giờ đây tình ấy vẫn miên man. Người ấy chết cho ai, sao người nỡ quên ơn Ngài?
Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to them,
"Sit here while I go over there and pray."
He took Peter and the two sons of Zebedee along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. He said to them,
"My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me."
Going a little further, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed,
"My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken away from me, yet not as I will, but as your will."
Then he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping.
"Couldn't you men keep watch with me for 1 hour? Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Look, the hour has come, and the Son of Man is delivered into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. Here comes my betrayer."
While he was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, arrived. With him was a large crowd armed with swords and clubs, sent from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now the betrayer had arranged a signal with them.
"The one I kiss is Jesus."
Going at once to Jesus, Judas said,
"Greetings, Rabbi."
Jesus replied,
"Do what you came for, friend."
Then the men stepped forward, seized Jesus, and arrested him. With that, one of Jesus' companions reached for his sword, drew it out, and struck it on the servant of the high priest, cutting off his ear.
"Put your sword back in its place, for all who draw the sword will die by the sword. Do you think I cannot call on my Father, and he will at once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels? But how then would the scriptures be fulfilled that say it must happen in this way?"
In that hour, Jesus said to the crowd,
"Am I leading a rebellion that you have come out with swords and clubs to capture me? Every day I sat in the temple courts teaching, and you did not arrest me. But this has all taken place that the writings of the prophets might be fulfilled."
Then all the disciples deserted him and fled. Meanwhile, Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him,
"Are you the king of the Jews?"
Jesus replied,
"You have said so."
When he was accused by the chief priests and the elders, he gave no answer. Then Pilate asked him,
"Don't you hear the testimony they are bringing against you?"
But Jesus made no reply, not even to a single charge, to the great amazement of the governor. Now it was the governor's custom at the festival to release a prisoner chosen by the crowd. At that time they had a well-known prisoner whose name was Barabbas. So when the crowd had gathered, Pilate asked them,
"Which one do you want me to release to you, Barabbas or Jesus, who is called the Messiah?"
For he knew it was out of self-interest that they had handed Jesus over to him. While Pilate was sitting on the judge's seat, his wife said to him,
Do not have anything to do with this innocent man, for I have suffered a great deal in a dream I had of him last night.
Because the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas and to have Jesus executed.
Which of the two do you want me to release to you?
The crowd answered,
Barabbas! Barabbas! Barabbas!
What shall I do then with Jesus who is called the Messiah?
They all answered,
Crucify him! Crucify him! Crucify him!
Why? What crime has he committed?
But they shouted all the louder,
Crucify him! Crucify him! Crucify him!
When Pilate saw that he was getting nowhere, but that instead an uproar was starting, he took water and washed his hands in front of the crowd.
I am innocent of this man's blood. It is your responsibility.
All the people answered. Then he released Barabbas to the crowd. But he had Jesus flogged and handed him over to be crucified. Then the governor's soldiers took Jesus into the praetorium and gathered the whole company of soldiers around him. They twisted together a crown of thorns and set it on his head. They put a staff in his right hand. Then they knelt in front of him and mocked him. They spat on him and took the staff and struck on him on the head again and again. After they mocked him, they led him away to be crucified. On the way to Golgotha, which means the place of the skull, Jesus fell for the first time. The soldiers whipped him and pushed him to continue forward. Jesus fell for the second time. The soldiers pulled a man from the crowd from Cyrene, named Simon, and they forced him to help Jesus carry the cross.
Cán về chiều buồn, một trời hoang sơ xác. Cán về chiều buồn.
A woman named Veronica steps out from the crowd and with a rag wipes Jesus' face.
Một mình con Chúa trời gánh lấy tội đời để giải thoát con người. Bao nhiêu dặm vùi hình hài ôi đẫm máu, hy sinh chuộc tội chiều ngàn nỗi thương đau.
At the foot of Golgotha, Jesus falls for the third time.
Ai hay tình Ngài đã chịu chết đơn đau.
There they offered Jesus wine to drink, mixed with gall, but after tasting it, he refused to drink it.
Tội đời ôi nhớ tình yêu thương đó bao la vô bờ đã chết vì yêu trần thế hân hoan.
soldiers stripped Jesus of his clothes and fought over it.
Xin thương tha thứ từng ngày đi hoang, giờ đây sám hối.
After that, they nailed him to the cross.
Nguyện Chúa dù thương đừng trách tôi có.
Above his head was written his charge, "This is Jesus, the King of Jews." 2 rebels were crucified with him, one on his right and one on his left. Those who passed by hurled insults at him, shaking their heads and saying,
"You who are going to destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself.
Come down from the cross if you are the Son of God."
In the same way, the chief priests, the teachers of the law, and the elders had mocked him.
He saved others, but he cannot save himself. He is the King of Israel. Let him come down now from the cross, and we shall believe in him.
He trusts in God. Let God rescue him now if he wants him. For he said, "I am the Son of God."
In the same way, the rebels who were crucified with him also heaped insults at him. From noon until 3 in the afternoon, darkness came all over the land. About 3 in the afternoon, Jesus cried out in a loud voice,
Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani,
which means, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" When those standing round there heard this, they said, Immediately, one of them ran and got a sponge. He filled it with wine vinegar, put it on a staff, and offered it to Jesus to drink.
Now leave him alone. Let's see if Elijah comes to save him.
Standing nearby, Jesus saw his mother and a disciple whom he loved. He said to his mother,
Woman, behold your son.
Then he said to the disciple,
Behold your mother.
And from that hour, the disciple took her to his own home. Then Jesus cried out again and proclaimed,
It is finished.
And he bowed his head and gave up his spirit. At that moment, the curtain of the temple was torn into 2 from top to bottom. The earth shook, the rocks split, and tombs broke open. Then Jesus died. Since it was a day of preparation, no bodies would remain on the cross for the Sabbath. When the soldiers came down to take Jesus down and saw that he was already dead, they pierced his side with a spear, and at once there came out blood and water. After this, Jesus was taken down from the cross and was laid down in Mary's arms.
Ngợp đắng cay tràn đầy, trời giăng mây tím, tiếng gió đưa lao sao thầm thì, khiến tim mẹ sầu bi. Nhìn con gục chết thân hình hắn, bao vết xót xa tan tạ từ trên thánh giá. Lệ rơi chua xót chết ngất, ôi thê lương thân con giữa đớn đau.
Khi xác Đức Chúa Giêsu còn trên thánh giá, thì có một người các quan lấy đông mà đâm cạnh nương lòng Đức Chúa Giêsu phải trái tim. Bây giờ máu cùng nước chảy ra, sông lệ khi ấy xác Đức Chúa Giêsu chẳng có đâu. Vì đã sinh thì, nhưng mà lòng Đức Mẹ đau lắm, như đâm trong lòng vậy. Vì nó chẳng thương khi còn sống, cũng chẳng thương khi đã sinh thì. Đoàn hai người chồng là đầy tớ Đức Chúa Giêsu, một là Giuse, hai là Nicodemo, cất xác xuống mà phở ở tay Đức Mẹ. Thì người khóc lóc thương con chẳng có khi đừng. Đoàn tắm xác Đức Chúa Giêsu mà táng trong hang đá, thì cũng như cất xác Đức Mẹ với. Vì người thắm thiết thương con lắm, khi cất xác con thì như cất ruột mẹ ra vậy. Thương Đức Chúa Giêsu để cho người ta cất xác xuống đất. Xin cho chúng con nhớ đến những sự thương khó Đức Chúa Giêsu, xưa chịu chết vì tội thiên hạ, mà tiếc trong lòng chúng con cho đến trọn đời. Thì amen.
Như tan nát thấy thế nhân đang tâm bội bạc, thấy con người tàn ác, màn đêm mờ xám khơi màu tang ưu ám tiễn đưa lòng mẹ đang chết theo. Mẹ hiệp thông với con yêu cùng vác lấy thánh giá, bước trên đường trông gai, đồng hành bên con khi mới cưu mang, khi theo con lên đồi hớp hối. Mẹ đồng công cứu thế giới tội lỗi qua bao phen đắm trong vòng u mê, cùng được phục sinh bên Chúa hiền vinh trong khai hoàn hạnh phúc chứa chan.